Please do not be alarmed. I am a real preacher from the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. Here are my credentials. I am Schizophrenic Mitch, the local prophet from the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. Here are my credentials signed by the prophet Bobby Anderson. I'm going to sermonize today. Sermons will begin with a song. Please do sing along. What are words for when no one listens anymore? When no one listens, what are words for? It's no use talking at all. Do you hear me? Do you care? O Flying Spaghetti Monster, we come before you with a feeling of contrition and awe at your majesty, the creation of that which we are a part, that you are responsible for, is so beauteous that our feeble minds cannot even comprehend. Please do continue to keep your distance, for we are worthy of the trust that you have for us. We will take care of it. The beauty is not lost on us, Creator. In the name of truth and love and Flying Spaghetti Monster, Amen. I don't know why you're not there. I give you love, but you do not care. So what is right and what is wrong? Give me a sign. What is love? I don't know. What can I do? What else can I say? It's all up to you. I know we are one, just me and you. I can't go on. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. The one true cult on this earth, ladies and gentlemen, the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. As I said before those opening exercises, I'm a real and true minestrone of the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. I'm the local prophet for the Western United States. I am your prophet and I'm responsible for your morality, and I am a disappointment, I must say. I am embarrassed at how ineffectual I am at reaching you. I know this is my flaw, and I am sorry that you must pay the price for it. You have been my sheeple for a number of years, and yet I have not affected change in your morality. So I have with me my notes, and some of the things I say might sting a little, but I hope you listen to the intent. I hope you listen to the word that Flying Spaghetti Monster puts in your heart as he touches you with his noodly appendage. And then you will know that my words are not meant to be cruel, for truth cannot be cruel. It is only dispassionate. I would like to thank our patroniums, the Scrupulous Atheist, Brian McCoy and the Whore of Babylon. We have finally connected that account to a way that I could get money from it, and so we're going to be grabbing that money out of there to hopefully start our non-profit, although it seems rather difficult if you go over and see what Steve Moses is doing over there in the Cincinnati church. You'll see that it's not the easiest thing in the world to do if you're not a well-funded television show like those satirical shows we're doing. But thank you again to our patrons. If you'd like to help, please click the link below. A lot of times when I show what I'm doing to other Pastafarians, they misunderstand what I'm doing and tell me that I need to tone it down a little bit because we don't force our religion down people's throats. And of course that's not what I'm doing. We Pastafarians aren't trying to shove our morality down your throats. We're not trying to convert everyone. We don't need 100% conversion for our God. We're just trying to make enough pirates to counteract this global warming. It is late October, ladies and gentlemen, in Golden, Colorado. Here I am recording it. Here you can see the color of the trees, the color of the leaves and the grass. And I bet if you were to go back to other recordings that were done on this day of the year, it wouldn't be so warm right here. Not quite this warm. And I think that trend will continue so long as you keep your heart hardened to the truth, so long as you keep yourself deafened to the reality that we must choose to save this world, that we must choose to act and pull the lever back from the brink and dress as pirates and cool this planet down. We must make the choice. We cannot ride along with the stream. We are not plankton. We are meant to find our way. We are meant to mark this world. We are meant to be remembered. And we must choose, all of us and each of us, that it is too damn hot. Dress as a pirate, cool this place down. Now in a couple days it's Halloween and many of us will be going dressing as pirates, and I think you'll see an immediate response. And so this weekend there were many parties around this great nation of ours, where many people dressed as pirates, and I think you'll be seeing the effect roll in here in the next couple days. But I think we can all agree that this problem is getting out of hand, out of your hand. Take this problem in your hand and make decisions. Change your life. I don't look too far in the future. I'm very terrible at this thing. Something's wrong in my brain in that regard. Some things I can see clearly and some are just not clear to me. But it's okay if you can adapt to the future when it arrives. You don't have to predict too far if you can adapt when it's here. And it's here. We live now in that future. And if you haven't changed from the past to the future, you have not arrived. No matter how well you predicted this time, you have yet to adapt to it. The truth is, we are killing this planet. The reality is, our children won't live as comfortable a life as we did. And the unfortunate reality is that we chose it. We are responsible, each and every one of us, for that decision. There is no one to give responsibility to. It is a dark time for our nation right now. I am sad to say. There is much hatred in this world. There is much hatred in our nation, in our cities, in this conglomeration that we have. The violence is a distraction from the conversation that I would like to have. Those people that resort to violence worship death. Violence is a despicable tool from a barbarous time. Many of us don't know how to help. Many things happen over and over. There's a hurricane, there's a mass shooting, there's an earthquake, there's a tsunami. Someone mails some bombs around. How do we help? How do we help? There's part of us that wants to. I lived for a long time in a place where tornadoes, and a tornado came through one day and across the freeway, and we were driving a couple days later up the freeway across the path of the tornado. And as we got closer and closer to where the tornado had been, the traffic congested and many people had pulled over, and people from all over the country had come to help this city recover from the tornado that had damaged their homes and taken some of their friends. And there were some people on the side of the road picking up garbage 2 days after the tornado. There wasn't much garbage, but these people were doing it. And those people who were doing that, I'm not saying it wasn't helpful, but what I'm saying was it scratched their itch. Those people were doing it for themselves. They had the desire to help, and so were. And it doesn't matter how ineffectual, not actually helpful what they were doing was, they counted it as help. And then a month later, I went to the same area, and nobody was helping. They had moved on to the next thing they had to help, and the guilt they had to assuage, and the next thing they had to help. And a month later, this town was forgotten. And the next year, when a tornado came through again, it was harder to help. It's hard to find things that are truly helpful, things that really make a difference. And the things of the past don't work anymore. The future's changed the way things work. We rely on old methods and we count that as help done. The lowest class of us is given food that the higher classes haven't purchased in the stores, and that has gone beyond the sell-by date. When you give someone garbage, you tell them what they're worth. When you pretend to help only to scratch your own itch, you tell them how much you care. The one true cult on this earth, the cult of flying spaghetti monster. It is preached often in this country that you must be saved, but that you cannot do it yourself. You must rely on your perfect brother or some external source. Unfortunately, you cannot ditch the responsibility that easily. There is no one who can save you but you. You must save yourself, and you can save no others but yourself. So get to work, save this world. It is yours to save. Be responsible and save yourself. Some of you may have heard me say previous to now that I was raised in a cult, a different cult than the one I'm in now. In the cult of the Mormons, the Mormon cult. From my very earliest age to my mid-30s, my mind was programmed by this cult. I saw the entire world through the lens that they had put over my mind, the wool that they had pulled over my eyes. I was a cultist of the worst kind. From a very young age, they brought me in and taught me songs that reflected their values. They override those values which would naturally form in my own mind. They added thoughts to my head such as follow the prophet. He knows the way. They told me that family was forever. They told me to have an eternal perspective. They overwrite my thoughts. And they told me at one point that I oughtn't play Dungeons and Dragons. It's very strange. It was said sort of sideways, same as I oughtn't go too far with my education. I oughtn't educate myself out of my faith. But they told me don't play Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought that was a strange thing to say. But I assumed they didn't really mean it, and I did play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you play any sort of role-playing game, but you may be aware of live-action role-playing, which is sort of like Dungeons and Dragons brought off the page. That we instead dress as our characters and live our lives as our characters, maybe for a moment. And having learned these ideas and having understood what the Dungeon Master's Guide is and how this world works and how the rules go in Dungeons and Dragons, it was very hard for me not to see the similarities and understand why they had prohibited my exploration of this idea in the first place. It identified them as live action role players. The reality of the situation is hard for me not to see anymore. That as I grew up, I pretended to be a priest of a god, and I pretended to do his work and wear his vestments, and I dressed as a missionary of God. And this is exactly like live action role playing. And unfortunately, the sad part is that they don't know it, that around us, surrounding us, are all of these live action role players playing their part. Priests of temples, deacons, prophets, worshipping imaginary gods, following the rules that have been set down, and growing in their levels and classes, and growing in their priesthoods. The church of the Scientologists is this: you travel up the bridge, you pay certain amounts of money, and you pretend to be a priest of Xenu and have powers given to you from him, and it's live action and it's role play, and it's against their will. If they knew that their game was such a foolish waste of time, they wouldn't choose it. We must wake the role players. We must show them what real life is. We mustn't allow them to wear their costume where their costume is not welcome. You must be here, or you sin against this world. If you pretend that this world is other than it is, your hatred does nothing good for this place, the place where we live, the place where our children must live. There is no escape for us. We must make this cage livable. Join me as I remove the 10 Commandments from public land. Join me as I remove their God from your money. Join me as I remove their God from the pledge of allegiance to our nation. Join me as I make this country secular again. The one true cult on this earth, the cult of flying spaghetti monster. Disinformation has poisoned your mind. It comes from places you wouldn't expect. You can hear it in the voice of your mother and father when they spew their racism to you, when they tell you who to hate. You can hear it, that their minds are poisoned. But let me wash your brain. Let me wash that poison out of your mind. The one true cult on this earth, the cult of flying spaghetti monster. Your brains must be washed of this poison. Allow us to do it for you free of charge. I'd like to speak briefly about a specific person. I usually don't do this. I try to keep it general, but this person is a very public person for a number of decades now, and is quite beloved by many of us. One of our greatest thinkers, one of our greatest philosophers, the Prophet Norman MacDonald from Canada, has been spewing truth for as long as I have been aware of truth. And yet he is in a cage. I don't know if you know this about Norman MacDonald, but he is a very, very deeply closeted gay man. He can admit it to no one, not even, unfortunately, himself. For he lives in the cage of Christianity. He is truly and actually a Christian, a believing Christian. He hopes for heaven where all his problems are solved, but fears the sin of suicide, and that is what keeps him here. And that is one of the saddest things I've ever had to say. to point out the cage that one of my most beloved teachers lives in. For his God will not allow him to be that which the Creator made him. Unfortunately, he commits that unforgivable sin of being attracted to other men. I know many people who live in religious cages that suffer from this problem. When I was on my mission for the Mormons, I had a companion who, unbeknownst to me or anyone else in New Zealand, was gay. He, like me, is now 40. I have had 18 years of marriage. I have had the opportunity to raise a family. I have teenagers. And my poor companion has been denied this right by those who speak for his God. They hate and fear what he is so much that they did not allow him to live. He obeys that which they say. He lives his life chaste and singular and unloved, which is not what he would choose. He follows their commands, yet they choose to keep him out of the leadership. They could call him as a bishop. He could lead hundreds. And there are few people who could be better in that position than him. He loves this God. He loves the scripture. He loves the culture. He just hates himself for them. Yet they do not reward him. His only reward is not being excommunicated for loving whom he loves. That is his reward. To continue in the cage. They give him nothing else. He is not a leader, for they fear him. Because they know one day he will see through it. And they just pray that he'll die before it happens. And he needs your prayers. He needs the opposite. We must wake before we die, or we never will have lived. You can't sleep away your life. That's not living. Join us in truth. Join us in reality. Worship the true creator of this reality, the one true cult on this earth, the cult of Flying Spaghetti Monster. In the name of truth, in the name of love and brotherhood, in the name of Flying Spaghetti Monster, Amen. No, no, no. You've been so kind and generous. I do not know how you keep on giving. For your kindness, I'm in debt to you. For your selflessness, my admiration. For everything you've done. You know, I'm bound to thank you for it. Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey.